quarterbacks out there. Aaron Rodgers still hasn't decided. Micah Parsons still hasn't been re-upped by the Dallas Cowboys. Tyreek Hill could potentially be traded. The Hall of Fame game kicks things off July the 31st, the last day of July. This is the last day of April. We've got 3 months to go, and Mike Renner is going to bring his 5 moves that need to happen over the next several months. And we're going to start with the Kansas City Chiefs. Why do you want KC to make a move for a former top 5 pick just 3 years ago?
I think because, one, Kayvon Thibodeau is buried on the depth chart there in New York after drafting Abdul Carter. I don't think he's going to be happy after being a 3-year starter, getting relegated to a backup role there. So that's one. And then two, we talked about in the last segment, after losing Turk Wharton, it really is just George Karlaftis and Chris Jones. They don't have a plan C there that can get after the passer. Their former first-rounder, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, guy played only 358 snaps last year. Couldn't even see the football field. So if they want to get back to a Super Bowl, and obviously they're still in this window, they need to upgrade their pass rush. And Kayvon Thibodeau is one of the few guys on the market that could do just that. And he's on a contract for 2 more years. So you get 2 years of him. That seems like an attractive option if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs.
Chiefs have been to 7 straight conference championship games. This season will mark 30 years since the last conference title game appearance for the Dallas Cowboys. And Mike, they surprised us again on draft weekend, not taking a single wide receiver.
Yeah, I could not believe it. That's why I think they may be in the market for a veteran. A trade. Tyreek Hill has obviously been very vocal about it. I think it just makes too much sense because right now, as it stands, CeeDee Lamb, Jonathan Mingo, Jalen Tolbert. That's your 3 deep. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, it's going to be like 200 targets for CeeDee Lamb again. This offense and this team, truthfully, if you're just stacking it up in the East, they might be at 4 now. They might have been passed up by the Giants. I mean, they're at least a clear tier behind the Eagles and Commanders. This is not a playoff team. And for as much as they're paying this roster and have some highly paid guys, when that's the case, you think you're in a window. When you're paying your quarterback that sort of money, you're doing it because you think you're in a window. And they're just not right now. This could get you in that sort of window if you add a piece like Tyreek Hill. Obviously, the Dolphins would have to eat some of the cap space to do it. But with them in a rebuild as it stands, I think they'd be more than willing to if the draft compensation was right.
And, Mike, you have another one for the Cowboys. It's not a move, but it is a must. What is it?
It's extend Micah Parsons. Don't wait till the last minute. That's why you're in this cap situation. That's why you're falling behind in the East. You just saw Myles Garrett go for $40 million per year. If Aiden Hutchinson comes back healthy, the Lions are going to do the right thing by him and extend him at the first opportunity they can, and he's going to get more than $40 million a year. Well, that means the price for Parsons just goes up and up every single year because obviously, given his history, he's going to want to be the highest paid guy in football, and he rightfully has earned that right. So the price tag is only going to go up. Get it done now so you can get some cap relief from him on that year 5 of his deal because you can make that number smaller this year, push it down in the future. You just got to do it, Dallas. It makes too much sense. So, yeah, I think the Micah Parsons deal, if it waits to the last minute, they're going to have to pay top dollar once again.
Okay, a couple more moves that Mike Renner says need to be made before the season begins. The Minnesota Vikings yesterday extended an all-pro defender in Andrew Van Ginkel, 1 year, $23 million. But what big move would you like to see Minnesota make on defense?
I think they need to trade for a cornerback. They've lost a lot of pieces from that secondary. Stephon Gilmore, Cam Bynum. This cornerback group right now with like Isaiah Rodgers, Mekhi Blackman, Byron Murphy, it's ugly. If you really think you're in a championship window, you need to be better than that at the cornerback position. And obviously, Jalen Ramsey requested a trade. I think he's perfect for Brian Flores' defense. I think he'd even be an upgrade from Stephon Gilmore and what he was a year ago and bring you back to that potential. So it's a move that if I'm looking around the NFL and who makes the most sense, it's the Minnesota Vikings. I think they can afford to
could change rosters throughout the NFL before the season. Not only do we have the Aaron Rodgers decision looming, there are several big-name players on the trade block, including Miami's Jalen Ramsey. And there were trade talks during the draft. According to Dolphins GM Chris Greer, said that we had conversations through the weekend with teams. Whenever it happens, we will make the deal at the appropriate time. Let's get Ryan Wilson in here with 5 trades that could shake up the NFL. And the first one involves Ramsey. What is it?
Yeah, hey, Chris, good to see you. I'm sort of surprised some of these didn't unfold during draft weekend. But the Atlanta Falcons crushed the draft, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Went primarily with guys in the front 4 edge rush position. They still need help at cornerback. They have A.J. Terrell. They also have Mike Hughes. And you can feel like Jalen Ramsey would be a good replacement for Mike Hughes. And Raheem Morris appears to be all in on fixing this defense for what it's been the last few years. We'll see how the offense plays out. But I love the idea of Jalen Ramsey joining A.J. Terrell, Xavier Watts, who they got in the 3rd round, another fantastic pick, and one of the best safeties in the league in Jesse Bates. That secondary will look completely different headed into 2025.
And Ryan, another former All-Pro cornerback could also be on the trade block, though there are reports that the Packers are still speaking with Jair Alexander, but who could end up with him if they do decide to trade him?
The Steelers didn't get a cornerback until the very last pick in the 7th round, so that could be an option. They have Joey Porter Jr. Yes, they signed Darius Slay on a 1-year deal, but he's now north of 30, and it doesn't feel like a long-term solution there. I thought they might target a cornerback earlier, but they missed out on the 2nd round pick because they traded it for DK Metcalf, and then they targeted Will Howard to get that quarterback. Jair Alexander is one of the best corners in the league when he's healthy. He's just battled to stay healthy last season in particular, but the idea of him opposite Joey Porter Jr. would bring some life to a secondary that struggled down the stretch last year, as the offense, as it happens, also faltered for those final 5 games.
Steelers with something that they can take into their own hands, rather, if they want, as they wait for Aaron Rodgers. You had the Falcons trading for a cornerback a little bit earlier. How about the Falcons trading a quarterback to a division rival?
Yeah, that's the world we're living in when it comes to Kirk Cousins. And we all thought it was extremely weird that they took Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall a month after signing Kirk Cousins a year ago. But here we are. Michael Penix Jr. is the future. And when you look to New Orleans, we do not know what Derek Carr's future is going to look like with that shoulder injury. They also have Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener on the roster, who started last year, both of them in one combined 0 games, I believe. Then they drafted Tyler Shuck with that 40th pick. Is Tyler Shuck ready to play in 3 months? We do not know. And if that's the case, Kirk Cousins could be an insurance policy. And look, if Kirk Cousins is 75% of what he was prior to the Achilles injury, I think this makes sense. But that's a lot of ifs there to figure out. And